All right, what's up guys? If you found this video, then you probably have the type of store where you need to show your customers the SKU number, maybe underneath the product title like this. And this is common if you have a wholesale store, or maybe if your store has products with a lot of different colors, a lot of different patterns, and maybe it's a little bit confusing for customers, and so it would benefit them to be able to check the exact SKU number to make sure that they're getting the right color or whatever. Unfortunately, many Shopify themes don't have this built in already, and I'm not sure why, because it's really easy to just output this value using liquid code. So I don't know why they wouldn't include this option. So luckily, it's easy enough to do that you're going to do it yourself. Okay, and just to clarify, I am talking about this field here. So under inventory, we have the SKU field. That's what we're going to be outputting directly to the product page in a variety of different ways. I'll show you how to, I'll give you some options. And this is how it looks like if your product does not have variants. And this is how it looks like if your product does have variants, then it will be attached to every variant here. You will have a different SKU for every variant normally. And by the way, if you are using the barcode instead of the SKU, you can still follow this tutorial. Simply everywhere in the code where I say .sku, you would write .barcode instead. So really easy. So I'm going to show you a few ways to do this from easy to slightly more difficult, and you can decide what is the best way for your situation and your requirements. The first way would be for a product that does not have variants, things like size or color. If your product does not have that, then it's going to be super easy for you. To do this, we're just going to be using the custom liquid block type. Okay, so this is available on all Shopify 2.0 themes, and you're going to be able to simply copy and paste a lot of my code or code along with me and just fill up this custom liquid field here to output the SKU. Also, if you're using an older theme that is not on Shopify 2.0, I will briefly explain what you can do, but you will need to dig around in your theme files a bit to find maybe the product title so that you can add the code that I'm talking about in this tutorial underneath that product title, right? You just need to find the right spot to put that code. All right, so the next part of the tutorial is going to be if you have variants. Okay, and I'm going to show you a couple of options here. The clean and really nice looking way is to create a custom block type. Right here, these blocks that you have available to you, we're going to be creating our own custom one. And you see this one with the lightning bolt is one that I've created myself. And I use that lightning bolt to kind of visually separate it and make it easy to see that this is not part of the theme. This is one that I added myself. So you're just going to be able to add that block there, reposition it, right, anywhere you want, and it's going to be outputting the SKU number. And yeah, using this method with the block type is the best if you have multiple variants, because now it's going to be updating every time when we change the variant along with the price, right? Okay, so the downside of using this option with the block type is that you'll only be able to follow this tutorial if you are using Dawn or one of the free themes by Shopify. So that's this theme list right here. If you filter by free, if you're using any of these themes, Dawn, Craft, Crave, Sense, Taste, Studio, Ride, or Color Block, then you'll be completely fine. These are almost exactly the same theme in terms of the code, and you'll be able to follow this tutorial exactly. If you are not using one of those themes, then it's going to be difficult for you to do this method because you need to edit JavaScript, and the JavaScript is going to be completely different on those different themes. I do have a fallback method for you. It's not as clean, but it does the job. And this method is going to be to simply output a list of all the variants and their SKU numbers, right? And the customer themselves can see, okay, I want this one, which means this variant number, right? Actually, depending on your business requirements, maybe this is even better for you. Anyway, obviously it's quite long, takes up a lot of space, and it just isn't as pretty. So you can make it look nicer maybe by hiding it inside an accordion like this, right? And if your theme does have this accordion feature already, like Dawn, then I'll show you how you can actually output these this list of variant SKUs inside of that accordion. But once again, depending on your theme, The difficulty may vary. All right, so that's all of the things that I'm going to be covering in today's tutorial. You can use the chapters if you're interested in a particular method. Oh yeah, and I almost forgot to tell you, but all of the code for all of the different options will be on my website. So you just go to Ed Codes, click on tutorials, and then find the tutorial for this video. And you can copy and paste all of the code that I talk about if you don't want to type it out while watching the video. So with all that said, let's get started with the actual tutorial. Okay, we're going to start with option 1, which is showing the SKU for a product that does not have variants like size or color. I'm going to be starting on my themes page, and the first thing that I want to do is open up the code and also open up the theme customizer. So I'm going to click edit code, and I'm going to hold Command or Control to open that up in a new tab. I prefer having this tab on the left, and then on the right, I'm going to have the tab with the customizer. And the other thing you want to do is in the customizer, navigate to the product that you're working on. Okay, this can be any product really, but since we're currently working on a product without variants, I'm going to be demonstrating on a product without variants. And actually this first option does not require this tab to be open, so I kind of jumped the gun telling you to do that. We're just going to be working with the custom liquid block. So you can go ahead and add a custom liquid block to the page. You can move it up to maybe under the title, okay, because I'm guessing that's where you might want your SKU to show up. And here we're just going to write in capital letters test or something, just anything so that we can actually see that custom liquid block is being output to the page. And right under here, we're going to open up some double curly braces like this. This is how you write liquid code. And we're going to write product dot selected or first available variant, okay, dot SKU. That's all we're going to do. And we already see our SKU number. So what this code is saying is get us the product, okay, and then on that product we have the variant, and then .SKU, right? The SKU is a property of that variant. You probably don't want to leave it like this. You want to at least wrap it in paragraph tags, right? So that it goes on to the next line and it's a bit neater. It's not like just raw text being output. If you want inside of those paragraph tags, you can write something like SKU, like this. Make sure you put a space so that looks nicer. Now let's just get rid of this test word, and there is something else that we want to do actually, and that is have a fallback in case this SKU is not filled out. So like if you leave this field blank, right, or maybe some of your products have SKUs and other products do not have SKUs. So if this field is blank, then we don't want to output anything. Whereas right now what would happen is this would output nothing, but would still have this SKU, and then there would be nothing following it, right? So we want to wrap it in an if condition, and how we do that would be open up these this logic liquid code. So instead of the double curly braces, we use curly braces and percentage signs, and you can have some kind of condition here. And we wrap the code that we want to be conditionally output. So here we have the end if. And what should this condition be? Well, the condition is if this SKU number that we're outputting, you can paste this here, does not equal blank. Okay, if it's blank, nothing happens. If it's not blank, we output this. And that is pretty much all there is to the first option, which is showing the SKU number for a product without variants. Very quick, very easy. One other thing that I think you might want to do is I see on some websites they put the SKU number very close to the product title. So currently it has this default spacing around it, which is 15 pixels above and below. And if you want to tuck it right under the title there, which I think looks a little bit better maybe, then we can just add a quick bit of CSS, which would be margin top minus 15 pixels like that. And that's a negative margin, so we just pull it up a little bit right under the product title. And I think that now maybe this looks a little bit better. Now I want to quickly talk about what you might do if you're using an older non-Shopify 2.0 theme like Debut, okay? Because you don't have this custom liquid, you can't enter custom liquid in your theme editor. You're gonna have to go into your theme files and you wanna find this product title probably. So you wanna find a file that might be named product.liquid, right? Or something like that. Or it might be product template.liquid actually. And then you wanna search for something like title. So there we go, the H1, that gives us a good clue, and it's outputting the product title with liquid tags like that. And so right here we have the product price, and in between those tags, this script that's not output, so you can ignore that. But yeah, I would put it right in between those tags. You can use exactly the same code that I used here, or you can copy and paste it from my site, and you would put that into here. And for the later part of this tutorial as well, where I show how to output a list of SKUs for every variant, you can also put that right here. Now we're going to go through option 2, which is the main part of this tutorial and the best way to do this. And that is dynamically updating the SKU whenever a variant is changed. Okay, so it works for any product with multiple variants, and it's also going to be a block, which is going to be much nicer for you, much easier to use. So to do this, first you want to open up the code editor, okay, in one tab, and then in another tab you also want to have the theme customizer open, and you want to navigate to a product that has variants. Here's my product with variants. Here is the bit of custom liquid that I showed in the first part of this tutorial, and it's currently outputting the selected or first available variant SKU. So it's outputting the SKU for this size 4, but as you can see, when we click size 6, 8, 10, it doesn't change, doesn't update. And so that's what we're going to do now. We're going to be adding JavaScript so that this updates, and actually we're not going to be using this code at all. So you can go ahead, if you followed the first part, you can hide this. First thing I want to do is to kind of register a new block type in the schema. Okay, what is the schema? The schema is what defines everything that shows up in the theme settings here. So when we click add block, I want a new block type to appear here. You will find the schema in a file called main.product.liquid. This is on Dawn, right? Main-product.liquid. This is the file, and what we're going to edit is the schema, which will be at the very bottom. I recommend copying and pasting from my site because the schema can be a bit finicky. Like if you leave out a quotation mark or a comma, then you can easily break your product page layout. So I recommend just copying this, and we're going to paste it anywhere within this blocks array. So you can see the different types of blocks that we have here. We have title, price, quantity selector, variant picker, and these are all the blocks that we have available here, or these kinds of blocks. This is the price block. Obviously we can see the price block here. So I'm just going to add what I copied from my site. I'm just going to add this right here, and we're going to use Command or Control and curly braces to indent things so that this looks neat and so that it's readable. Okay, we want to keep everything in line. And if you want, you can get rid of this little lightning bolt if that annoys you. But for me personally, it keeps things organized, because later, if I'm going to update this theme, I'll know that this is actually something that I added in and it's not part of Dawn. So now that we've added it to the schema, when we click add block, we will see our new block type, which is the variant SKU. We can add that, but nothing will get added to the page yet because we haven't written any HTML to be output when this block is added in the settings. We've just added this option to the settings. So that's the next part. we're going to create the HTML that is output when we add the block to the page. And it has this syntax, which is like when, and then the name of that block, right? So when that block is added to the page, output this HTML. And we're going to copy all of this. And we're also going to add this in the same file, but it's going to be higher up. You'll see this for loop called for block in section.blocks. And then you'll see a bunch of whens. So when text, when price, when title. I'm going to go and just put it under when title again. Although it doesn't matter really in which order you put it. You can put it under when price or when description. Anyway. And once again, I'm just going to highlight and I'm going to just tuck it in so that it's nice and aligned to everything else so that we keep things readable, right? We have this when. And I'll just walk you through this code. So there's a div, which is just a container, and it's got the ID of our section. And then inside of that, it's just got the code from the first part. So if the SKU is blank, right? If you haven't filled out the SKU field for a particular product, then it won't output anything. Otherwise, it will output the product SKU, like so a paragraph. This is just the ID that I was actually experimenting with, so we can delete that. You don't need that part. And then there's a SKU, and then we output the actual SKU with product variant.SKU. We also have this style margin top minus 15 pixels. And if you watch the previous part, that just shifts it a little bit higher up so that it's right under the product title. Just save and you can preview what this looks like. So now this should work, okay? If you've added this block, hit save here as well, and then refresh the page, you should see that showing up. And like I said, you can remove this margin top minus 15 pixels if you want this to be a little bit lower down so that there's regular spacing around it, just like this price. So now let's test this out and see that it's still not changing. It's still not doing anything when we change the variants. And that's because we need to add JavaScript that reacts when you click on something here. And that's the next part, okay? So we're going to use a file called global.js, and we're going to look for a function there called render product info. Let's just search here, open up global.js, and then we're going to search in here as well. And I'm just using Command F or Control F if you're on Windows. Render product info, right? And it's not this one. This one just runs all of these functions. We want to actually find render product info. So you can use these arrows, to find the next instance of that. And here it is, render product info. And what this does is it updates the product info whenever the variant is changed. It updates everything that's going on in here. So for example, the price is the main thing that gets updated. So we're going to be using almost the same code as the price. Here we have const price, and this just defines like where the price is on the page. And so under that, after the lines const price and if price, just make some spaces here. You can copy this. Our code is almost exactly the same, and it does the same thing, just gets the price in this part of the code, and then it runs a function called update SKU. So let's save for now, just so we don't lose anything. Then underneath this render product info function, in line with it, right? In line with, see all these functions, set unavailable, toggle add button. We're going to add our own function, and it's going to be called update SKU, right? With a small letter like this. Once again, I recommend not typing this out and just copy this. And so we're just going to paste it in line with everything. If it pastes a bit weird, just highlight that part, indent it so that the name of the function and then the closing curly brace is in line, and all of this inside of it is indented. Hit save. And what this does is it fetches a updated version of our HTML for this section, and then it sets the HTML to be that updated HTML basically. And we're almost done. There's just a little additional thing to do, and that's if variants are unavailable, price automatically gets hidden. This is the same price, code. This is the same code as the price, right? So they hide the price. So we're going to hide the SKU as well. You're going to look for this if add button return. So under const price, you're going to write const SKU, right? And then copy the next part, which is if SKU. And this is going to be below this if add button. So you can write it. You can do this here. And you're going to save, and you can actually test if this is working by switching the variants. And now you should notice that on my SKU, only the last two numbers are different, but here they are actually changing when we change the variant. So I hope this makes sense. And you can of course remove the block and you won't lose anything. You can add it in later. Now I know that some people will be asking me, how do I add this only for one product or only for some products and not for others? And the answer is that you should be using templates, which you can do here. You can create a template based on this template, right? And if you don't know much about how to use templates, I already have a video that goes very in depth about templates in Shopify 2.0. I definitely recommend it because I show you a lot of cool examples, a lot of ways to use templates to make your store a lot better. And yeah, that is all for this second method. Now, the last thing that I quickly want to show you is if you're not using Dawn and you weren't able to follow the method 2 of this tutorial, then here's the fallback. You're going to output a list of variant SKUs, right? You're going to output the list of all the variants. And once again, we're going to use the custom liquid block type, or if your theme does not have the custom liquid block type, then as I explained before, like for a debut theme, you want to find a file called product template.liquid, find the product title, and then add your code underneath the product title. But anyway, I'm going to show you with the custom liquid. Once again, I'm moving this under the title. I'm going to hide my previous SKU. And inside this custom liquid block, I recommend just copying and pasting my code for now. And then I'll walk you through it. But what I've done basically is here's a heading 4, and it just says SKUs, right? You can style this however you want, or you can make it a larger, like H2 for example. And then we have a loop. Actually, I'll show you here because it's more readable. We have a loop that says for variant in product variants. So for each variant in all of the product variants, go into a loop and output this for each one. We're going to output the variant title and then the variant SKU. Okay, and that's in paragraph tags. Now, what's the variant title? That is usually whatever you call the variant. So it might be, in my case, it's kind of ugly. It's just 4, 6, 8, right? In your case, it might be a bit better. It might be red, yellow, blue, whatever. So in my case, where it's just a number, this isn't very clear. So I'm going to write size and then space. And so now that's more understandable. Size 4, this SKU. Size 6, this SKU. Now, currently we're outputting these as paragraphs, right? So each one is its own line as a paragraph. So that's okay, but also this is a list. So you might want to make it an actual HTML list. So you would do it like this. Outside of the for loop, you should use these UL tags, which stands for unordered list. Close the UL tag, right? Inside of the for loop, instead of paragraph, we want each one to be an LI, which is a list item. Stands for list item. And I've just made a mistake. I've put this UL actually inside of the for. So you want that outside of the end for, completely wrapping the for. And so now we have this list of SKUs with bullet points. Change this back to H4 actually, and I'm gonna save. Now, I think that like this is a bit long and it's a bit ugly and it should be like an optional thing, right? So I would prefer it to be under an accordion like this. Unfortunately, on Dawn and maybe on your theme, we can't use custom liquid inside here. We can use a meta field, but it's actually kind of tricky to output HTML code using meta fields. So I realized that the easiest way is actually, if you have an accordion, if you're like this on Dawn theme and you have an accordion already, but you don't have a liquid field, then you can simply add a liquid field here. And to do this, we're just going to go into main product.liquid again, and we're going to search for the collapsible tab code, and it might be named differently in your theme, and the code might look a little bit different in your theme, right? But you want to find the accordion content. Okay, this might be named differently as well, but you want to see where it's actually outputting and where it's just a title. So here obviously is the block settings heading, which is this thing, materials, shipping and returns. And here obviously is the actual content. And it's outputting the block.settings.something. Again, in Dawn theme, I'm going to show you how it is in Dawn. We're going to find the schema for the collapsible content, for the collapsible tab. And for example, here we have the content setting, which is this row content. And the type of this is rich text, right? And the type of this next one is page, for example, which allows you to select content from a page. Well, we can use the type liquid to give us a liquid field. So you can copy and paste from here, but basically it says type liquid. The ID is also going to be liquid, and I'll make the label also liquid. So paste this here, indent it so that it looks nice, remove this extra space, and hit save and refresh. And this would have added a custom liquid field to all of your collapsible tabs, right? So now you can use exactly the same thing. You can copy this and paste it into the liquid. Here, it's still not going to output anything because we have to tell it that we want to output something when this block.settings.liquid is filled out. So again, go back to the line where it says when collapsible tab, so the actual HTML that is output. And so here you can see block.settings.content is being output, and that is this row content. Then you see the page content is being output, and that is this page. And so we named ours liquid. And so all we need to do here is add another line like this and say block.settings.liquid, and that would output. And that would output all of the liquid that we added in here. So let's save. Let's change this heading to SKUs, and let's see what's inside it. And we're outputting all of our SKUs neatly like that. We can change the icon as well. The clipboard icon shows like a list of something, or you can have none, right? And I would move that up under the title, or maybe not under the title, actually under the description, or wherever you want, really. So I'm going to hide this again, and now it looks nicer. Obviously you don't need that second heading in there either, so let's delete this, and now you just have a list of SKUs under this accordion SKUs. It's going to be different in your theme, of course. It's going to be a slightly different process from what I showed you, but I hope that it's similar enough to Dawn that you'll be able to figure out how to get this done. So that is all for today's tutorial, guys. I hope it made sense. I hope you found it helpful and that one of these options was suitable for you. If you have any questions, leave a comment, of course. In my recent videos, I've been going a bit more into the details than I usually do because I realized a lot of my subscribers actually are interested in coding. And if that's you, then I highly recommend also subscribing to my mailing list, which you will find on the homepage of my website. Because I do have upcoming extra pieces of content like courses, perhaps an ebook that won't be, through YouTube. So it would be good if you're also subscribed to my mailing list so you don't lose that. That's if you're interested in Shopify coding, of course. But otherwise, make sure you subscribe, like the video so that YouTube recommends it to other Shopify store owners. And that's all. I'll see you in the next video.